Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new Netflix movie review, and today we'll be discussing the new sci-fi thriller by the name of Oxygen, which by the time this video is out, the film will be available to check out on Netflix. And my goal in this review is to obviously share with you all my pros, my cons, and ultimately let you know if it's worth checking out all in this spoiler-free review. But before we dive into it, make sure you all are following me on all my other social media accounts. If you are new to the channel, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. That way you can get the alert for when I drop new content. It would mean the world to me if you all can like and share this review. It helps out the channel a lot, but I also appreciate all the support. And in those comments, let me know if this film was on your radar, if you were excited for it, and ultimately, once you've seen the film, let's talk about it in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on the performance, the direction, the story, the big reveal that we get in this film, and ultimately, do you find yourself more on the positives or on the negatives of this film? Let's go ahead and discuss that all in the comments below. So, going into this film, this is one of those, I've been doing this lately in this last year or so, where every now and then I like to go into a film without watching a trailer, without watching this or reading the synopsis, and I did that exact thing with this film, Oxygen. And I'll say this, the thing that kind of led me into pressing play, because you can't always do that with every film, right? But the thing that sold me was the people in front and behind the camera. Starting off with the director of this film, Alexandre Aja, who I will say I am, for the most part, a fan of his filmography and the stuff he's worked on. Just briefly going over his filmography, I'm a fan of 2003's High Tension. I like what he did with the remake of 2006, The Hills Have Eyes. I wasn't the biggest fan of Mirrors. I didn't like Piranha 3D. And then when it comes to 2019's Crawl, I enjoy the film, but I'm not like the biggest fan of the film like a lot of people are. So one thing I will say about what I like of him as a director, he does a good job of creating tension. He does a good job of creating atmosphere. And I love that he always does a good job of putting the audience in the position of his character's shoes. Like I think of Crawl. What the hell would I do if I found an alligator trapped in my basement in the middle of a hurricane? What would I do in this case, in this film, Oxygen, with Liz waking up in this cryomedical unit, not knowing who she is, how she got there? What the hell would I do in that position? So I like how Alexander kind of puts you in that thrill, that mystery box, and he does a good job creating atmosphere. So that was one selling point. And then the lead of this film, I haven't seen all her films, but the films I have seen of hers, I've been pretty impressed with. Even though I wasn't a fan of the Michael Bay Six Underground, it wasn't her fault. That film was just terrible. But I go back to the one film that always sticks out for me in her filmography, and that's 2009's Inglourious Basterds, one of my favorite Quentin Tarantino films, and she was just flawless in that film. So those were the things that kind of led me into, okay, I don't need to see a trailer, I don't need to read synopsis, let's see what these two, this actress and this director, give me. Starting off with my positives, going back to the director, Alexandre Aja, yet again, like I mentioned, to his sensibilities, he creates tension, and he does a good job of putting you in the shoes of this character, Liz. Again, just imagine, not going too deep into the synopsis, which I will leave in the description. And of course, I would say, because I always, when I do this thing, when I don't watch a trailer, I like to go back and watch the trailer after I've seen the film. The trailer does a good job of creating the tone and give you an idea of what to expect, so it doesn't give too much away. But nonetheless, going into this film in regards to the synopsis here, Alexander does a good job of, again, what's the mystery? Who is Liz? We're figuring out, as she's discovering things, we're figuring out things. As she is in this cryo-medical unit, again, him creating this sense of atmosphere and putting yourself in the position of like, okay, what would you do? The resources. You know, she's able to use this AI that's in this system by the name of Milo. Can you trust the AI? Can you trust the people that she's on the phone with in regards to who she is and how she got in this position? So I think that Alexander does such a good job of creating tension, of creating thrills, and leaving the audience more compelled and engaged to figure out what's going on. So he does a really good job of doing that in this film and capturing all that and giving you those thrills that you're looking for in this type of movie. And then kind of going into one of my biggest positives with this film, when you have a film that relies on one main character throughout the entire film, you have to have an actress or an actor to be able to convey certain things. You have to have an actress that can give you the screen presence, the charisma, make it believable, and you get that with Melanie Laurent. She is such a fantastic actress, and when you see her in this film as Liz, who finds herself in this position and she's running low on oxygen and she's trying to figure out, number one, who she is, but also how she got there. How am I going to survive this situation? She does such a great job of conveying all those emotions. She gives you, thrills. She gives you wonder. She gives you fear. She gives you moments of love. I mean, she gives you so much in this role, and all within conveying that without another actor in the same scene with her. Now, there are a handful of scenes where she shares a scene with the character, character by the name of Leo, which I won't dive too deep into, but you know, that's the only, and that's literally maybe 7-8 minutes worth of this almost 2-hour film. Most of the film is just her and this pod, and she's just interacting with different voices, again, the AI, different people she's able to call in this position. So she is fantastic in this role. She carries so much on her shoulders, and she delivers in this position. I thought she was believable, but she was also, she just made me so compelled and so thrilled and so kind of engaged within this film, just all due to her incredible performance. And also, this is just a side note, French is such a beautiful language, and it just it helped that Melanie Laurent, who speaks French so fluently and just so beautifully, it's just another added bonus to my experience in this film. And then just kind of wrapping up my positives here, I'll say I found the first 2 acts, mostly the first act and some of the second act, to be the most compelling, most interesting aspects of this film, because again, you're watching this character Liz trying to discover, okay, how did I get here? How do I get out of here? And more importantly, who the hell am I? And you're seeing her using all these resources. Again, that part of the film to me was the most thrilling, most mysterious aspect, and the parts of the film that just kept me engaged for the most part of this film. And then lastly, going into my being impressed by the design of this pod, which I thought was pretty well put together. The cinematography, we're in a tight space, ladies and gentlemen. The majority of this film is in this pod. So I like how the cinematographer, Maxwell Alexandre, was able to capture the different motions and different angles and kind of, again, positioning the camera to see the emotions from Liz, but also just kind of getting an idea of the environment. And as the film goes on, the film gets a little bit bigger in scope. So I also want to apply the visual effects that we get within this film. So it's not all perfect. Transitioning into my criticisms with the film here, I applaud the performance. I thought it was a really strong direction and created a good sense of tone. But honestly, after you enter into like the back half, into the second half of the film, and mostly in the third half of the film, to me, the film took a nosedive for the negative, unfortunately. The film relies so heavily on discovering who Liz is, how she got here, you know, who are the people involved and how she got there, with the overall goal of how she ended up in this position. When you get that reveal and the balloon pops, to me, it was just so anticlimactic, and we've seen it a million times in other sci-fi films, and I won't get into the big reveal, obviously, but you've seen it before. Once you get the reveal, I felt like it was like I was on a roller coaster and the wind's blowing. I'm liking the dips, I'm enjoying it, but then you're coming up to that big drop, and once you get to that drop, it was just very disappointing to me. It didn't live up to the expectations of how it was set up in the first 2 acts, which is very unfortunate, because I've said it so many times in my past reviews. I'm okay with a so-so first half, second half, but if you give me a satisfied conclusion to what you were trying to establish in those first 2 acts, I'm okay as an audience member, but I do not like the reverse of that. And by the way, like I said, the first 2 halves are very engaging, but once we get to that reveal, once we figure out who she is and how she got in this position, I just found the conclusion to be extremely disappointing for me personally. So before I get to my overall thoughts and my score of this film, make sure to like the video, share the video, leave your thoughts in the comments, and of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Wrapping this thing up, overall, Melanie Laurent gives a great, engaging, believable, compelling performance, and the thrilling aspects of the film, which is mostly highlighted in the first 2 acts, are really well done. But unfortunately, the film relies so heavily on this big reveal, and once I saw the reveal and was given that reveal, I just found it anticlimactic and very disappointing for me personally, because it was very unoriginal and just kind of boring, if I'm being honest. With that being said, I'm going to give this film, Oxygen, a 2.5 out of 5. Again, it's a well put together film. It has a great performance, has some really good tense felt moments, but once I got to that back half of the second half and into the third act, I was just very disappointed, honestly, guys. Like I said, when you get the reveal, I'm just like, really? It led up to that, which I've seen a million times before, and ultimately, when I get to the end, it's like, what was worth it? What was the point of this film? And I hate to feel that way, especially with sci-fi films, which I'm a big fan of. But hey, that's just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments once you've seen this film. Your pros, your cons. Were you let down by the reveal? But also, let's talk about the positives. What did you think of the performance? What did you think of the direction? And let's talk about it all in the comments below. As always, make sure to like, share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell. That way you don't miss any of our other content. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Hope you're staying safe, and we'll see you in the next video.